Hey, I'm going to show you how to break free from the chronic stress cycle. That's the hidden loop hijacking your nervous system, keeping you exhausted, foggy, and emotionally on edge, no matter how hard you try to relax. This system has helped over 500 clients, including a Fortune 200 executive, retrain their bodies to feel calmer, clear, and in control again. You don't need another meditation app. You don't need supplements or stimulants. You just need to understand how your nervous system got stuck and how to reset it step by step. Sound good? Let's dive in. All right, so let's jump into how we break this nasty chronic stress cycle. A lot of times when people are in the chronic stress cycle, they think they're just tired. And that's because they're trapped in a survival loop. It becomes normal. It hijacks your body, clouds your brain, and quietly sabotages your relationships and peace of mind. And it won't stop until you break the cycle. When life feels unsafe, emotionally, physically, financially, your body shifts to survival mode. All of these threats to your body are life-threatening. And anything it perceives life-threatening activates survival mode. And as soon as survival mode kicks on, non-essential functions of your body start to slow down, like digestion, hormone regulation. Healing is not important when you're in survival mode. Your focus narrows, which basically means you lose perspective. You're living life through this little pinhole and you've lost perspective. Very important thing that I don't think a lot of people understand or appreciate. And your energy disappears because you're in energy conservation mode. And the alarm is blaring 24/7. And so there's a myriad of short-term issues, but there's also a myriad of long-term issues. And this is where you really pay the price for long-term stress. Even before these short-term problems happen, what's important to point out is this is what chronic stress does to the body. And so once you're in this chronic stress state, these are the impacts it has in the short term. And then if the longer you stay there, these are the long-term effects. I want to emphasize that this is chronic stress because stress itself is not bad and is actually tremendously advantageous in the short term. So I want to make sure I'm very clear that I'm referring to chronic stress, meaning a stress loop that hasn't been turned off and is chronically turned on. That's that alarm that's on 24/7. Here's the dangerous part. If that alarm never shuts off, your body starts to think that survival is normal. As soon as your body believes that the blaring alarm is just part of normal life, that's when you really need to be mindful, because the nervous system adapts, and so you actually just adapt and adjust to the chaos, and now the chaos is normal, and that's not a place we want to be. You feel fine, but you're actually running on cortisol, caffeine, and autopilot. You feel fine. What that means is you're surviving. That's what I feel fine is. I'm surviving. And if we're honest, when someone says, "How's it going?" "I'm fine." That's what you mean. It's like, hey, I'm surviving. And this is what I call the chronic stress cycle. In this experience, life gets much harder. Your nervous system responds. You ignore the signals. Your body adapts to dysfunction, and you repeat until there's breakdown. This is when there may be a stressor. Your nervous system responds to the stress by activating the stress response. We don't know how to interpret or integrate what the stress response is telling us. And so we cope with it and manage stress, which is very dangerous. Any tool you have right now that's managing or coping with stress, very dangerous. That's a one-way ticket to the chronic stress cycle. Then your body adapts to the dysfunction, and then it's just you go on repeat, and eventually things break down. No matter how many new hacks you have, they're not going to work. What you need is a nervous system reset. And this is why most solutions don't work. These are the managing and the coping, right? This is stuff that helps you survive the day and cope with the chronic stress cycle. Meditation can be useful, but it's often just a pause button. Self-care, again, temporary relief, it's not the root resolution. And medication, again, it silences the signal. None of these things actually solve the issue. If the house is burning down, turning off the smoke alarm isn't enough. And that's exactly what we're doing with all these coping and managing stress techniques. So what does work? I'm going to show you a 5-step system that I've used to help a lot of people, including high-performing executive CEOs and honestly high-performing parents, mothers, fathers. That's just as stressful, if not more stressful, than being an executive or a CEO. So let's break this down. If you've been Googling symptoms, jumping from hack to hack, and still waking up exhausted, stop guessing. The techniques I share in my free consult are exactly what I've used to help 500 clients escape the chronic stress cycle. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please check the description. So first thing you got to do to break the chronic stress cycle is get brutally honest with yourself. Stress is communicating something to you, and we have to stop suppressing the signal. We have to start listening to what it's trying to tell us. This is where I teach my clients the everyday loop dump, which is writing down everything on your mind, especially things you're avoiding. Maybe it's financial pressure. Maybe it's a certain relationship that's draining you. Maybe it's that job that's killing your soul. Or maybe it's your health that you know you haven't been care of, but you just keep ignoring it. Like, we got to get really honest with ourselves, because our nervous system is the only thing where we can align with truth. The more we create narratives to justify things that we're doing that we know aren't good for us, the more susceptible we are to chronic stress. The second thing you can do is slowing down and seeing things clearly. So as you're writing down these things, you should do this as part of your routine. You can't fix what you won't look at. You got to get honest with yourself. You got to get it out of your head. And this is where a journaling practice can be very useful if it's being used to move in the direction of truth and reality. If journaling is a way to dissociate from reality, we got to be careful, okay? And so this is a great simple routine you can do to help regulate your nervous system through facing the truth, reality, and then doing some things for your physiology through nature and sunlight that help you to drop out of that sympathetic fight or flight drive and into more of that parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. And so the 10 minutes of journaling, but like I said, getting connected to reality. So what am I thinking? What am I worried about? What's happening in my world? And pay attention to the narratives you have in your head, justifying things that are happening in your life that you know aren't okay. A short walk outside without your phone. Get in nature, get your feet in the grass, get some sunlight in your eyes, go hug a tree, like just do anything outside. This is very regulating to your nervous system. And stillness starts to reveal the root, and the root is where real change begins. The root meaning the cause, like where this communication that's coming through, all these emotions, all these sensations, they're trying to tell you something. It's time to start listening. Number 3, resetting your energy system. So this is where you address more what I call your systemic system, right? If you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're living off of caffeine, you're watching screens for 2 hours before you go to bed, like these things are not going to help. In the short term, I understand it makes you feel good, but it actually perpetuates the problem. And if you don't do this, your body continually thinks it's in danger. And so how do you show your body it's safe again? This is the key to regulating your nervous system. Is you have to create safety at a very deep level. Making sure you're eating every 2 to 3 hours. Wow, what a concept. Like so many people that are so stressed out, like I don't eat. I'm a big believer in simple sugars as a way to regulate blood sugar. I know that's not very popular today. We've been teaching this for 20 years and it's always delivered. So every 2 to 3 fruit, raw honey, or some kind of real food. If you're like, Matt, sugar, no, bad. Then just eat some real food, okay? Real food every 2 to 3 hours. Get consistent sleep. I know sometimes easier said than done, but some simple ways to start to implement this is just trying to go to bed at the same time every night or get up at the same time every morning. And the easier one of those two to start implement is getting up in the morning at the same time. Because if you get yourself to get up at a certain time in the morning, whether that's, a half hour earlier, it'll force you to go to bed earlier, right? And so consistent sleep, super important. Cut stimulants. And so, you shouldn't have any caffeine after 12 noon, right? If you're someone who's more sensitive to caffeine, then maybe not after 10 a.m. because that stays in your system for about 12 hours. So cutting stimulants, really important to help getting your energy system back online. And then reducing blue light before bed, like just get off screens. Get off screens. There's so many reasons why you should get off screens. Blue light is one reason. It's just very stimulating to your brain before you're trying to relax. But the bottom line is you got to train your body to rest, not to collapse. I call it, crash landing into bed, right? I'm just so exhausted. I've got the TV kind of me to sleep, right? Like taking over my brain, and then I just crash. That's not sustainable. You're not going to get really good recovery with that. You got to have a system where you have a nice soft landing into bed, not a crash landing. Number 4, like I mentioned earlier in this video, stop trying to manage chronic stress. Managing stress is coping. Eliminating it is healing, okay? We have to stop managing and coping. And the way to eliminate it, or I would even say learn to work with it or integrate the stress response, integrate the communication, that's when the body leaves survival mode and then all of a sudden healing is possible. Okay, so how do we integrate stress? You got to learn to interpret the signals correctly, and you got to stop treating everything as a threat. Okay, so many times when we're assessing problems, we're looking at all the problems as if they're equally as important and urgent. Like we don't have an ability to discern what's an actual threat and what's not a threat. I've been on the phone with clients and a text comes through, an email comes through, and their nervous system responds to the text like, oh my God, I got to get this done now. Let me just get this, and that's what's happening. I can see their whole nervous system kind of go on edge. Their whole body tenses up. And then they'll say very calmly, oh, let me just take care of this really quick, right? This is the narrative justifying the fact that the nervous system just freaked out on them because they assume that text or email have to answer it right now because for some reason it's mission critical. And it never is, right? And I love catching those moments with people because I always ask them, I say, hey, let me ask you a question. If you didn't answer that text or email, like what would have happened if you didn't answer it for another half hour till our call was over? And they sit there and stop and they say, well, nothing. It's like, exactly, right? But that's not how the nervous system responded. And now the nervous system's trained your brain to have this narrative called, well, it's not just big, let me just take care of this so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, that's when you're enslaved to chronic stress and survival mode. The good news is it's possible to do all these things, and you just have to learn how to. But no one teaches this stuff, unfortunately, until now. And then step 5 is integrate and repeat. And this is how you iterate. This is how you learn more about what your emotions are communicating, what your sensations are communicating. You have to start to learn about yourself, right? You have to understand unprocessed emotion always comes back. And so I have to start to break down, like, what are all these emotions I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this way? And you got to learn to decode the message. And that's the integration part. And I have a video here on my channel on decoding emotions. So really starting to talk about, like, what does anger mean? Like when I feel angry, what is it communicating? When I feel overwhelmed, what is it communicating? And there's very specific things, directions that it's pointing us at. Like anger, for example, is usually a sign of injustice. A boundary or value was violated. A boundary was crossed, right? That's usually what anger is signaling, right? Like it's a good thing to know, right? Overwhelm, one of the main things overwhelm is communicating is that I need to prioritize. Overwhelm usually signals that what I'm trying to accomplish is not possible. I'm either trying to focus on an outcome that's not possible, or I don't know how to solve this problem because the strategy I'm using, I don't have the skill set. And so here's an example. If as an experience, I believe I have 100 things to do and they're all equally as important. I need them to all get done now. That's overwhelming because that's impossible. You can't get everything done at the same time. And if you relate to everything as equally as important, I mean, that's overwhelming because you can't hit that target, right? And so overwhelm a lot of times signifies, hey, it's time to prioritize here, right? The key here is emotion is instruction. Listen to it. You have two choices here. Listen to it or relive it over and over and over again. This process I've seen work with moms who haven't felt calm in 7 years, young adults having daily panic attacks, and men who numbed out for decades just to survive. Once they broke the cycle, their lives changed, not just mentally, but biologically. This is not a mindset shift. It's a nervous system rewiring, which is biological. If you tried therapy, meds, or meditation and still feel stuck, you're not broken. You've just never been taught how to listen to the signals your body has been screaming at you for years. But that ends now. If you're still stressed out after trying therapy, it's because you've been trying to solve the wrong problem. As I say, you're hitting the bullseye on the wrong target, and that's because most people are never taught what I just taught you. But if you want the exact process to eliminate stress at the root, I'll show you how. Chronic stress is rewiring your brain and wrecking your life. In 1 hour, I'll help you break the stress cycle and turn it into fuel without meds or endless self-care. Now, at the recording of this video, I have 7 spots left in my one-on-one practice, and will only be offering free consults for a little bit of time. This free consult is no strings attached. I will send you something to fill out so that I can get an idea of your situation, and I will walk you through the process to pinpoint what the big rock is that you have to address. Like, where do we start? What's the root cause of this? And not teach you some management or coping strategy to help you just kick the can down the road. To get your breakthrough, you're going to click on the link in the description. Like I said, you're going to fill out a qualifying questionnaire. I want to get to know a little bit more about you, make sure we're a good fit. And then as soon as you're done with that questionnaire, you'll be taken to my calendar where you can book a time, no charge. Like I said, I got limited spots. I may not even have 7 spots by the time you're watching this video, but click on that link and try to get on my calendar as quickly as possible. This approach has changed everything, not only for me, but for my clients. And I've seen people break free from stress, burnout, and meds, reclaiming energy, clarity, and purpose without big pharma solutions. So what I'd love to do before we end here is I'd love for you to tell me in the comments below, what's your biggest struggle related to chronic stress? Like, just give me an idea. I will personally reply to your comments with some advice, with some perspective, and maybe even point you in a direction of something that may be able to help you. Okay? If this video was helpful, please subscribe, like, share this. It helps to promote my channel and, more importantly, get this information out to as many people as possible. Thanks so much for listening.